I haven't played in any big stadiums so far. This is going to be the biggest stadium I'll ever play in.
In the end, it's to win our match. It's all that matters at this point.
제일 큰 목표는 월드 챔피언십 나가는 게 일단 목표죠.
That's really the number one thing on our minds right now is just getting to World.
그래도 거기 나가서도 팀이 질 수 있고 이길 수도 있지만 제가 잘한다는 걸 보여주고 싶어요.
Right now, what's going through my mind is just pushing myself as hard as possible.
We beat them twice this season, and we also beat them in the third place match last split.
저번엔 저희가 3대2로 졌으니까 이번엔 저희가 깔끔하게 이길 차례인 것 같아요.
그걸 이기면 선발전을 제일 위에서 시작할 수 있기 때문에 무조건 이겨야 된다는 경기라 생각하고.
Welcome everyone to the final week of the North American League Championship Series Summer Playoffs. We're coming to you live from the historic Madison Square Garden in association with Tribeca Games, and the fans are hyped up to cheer on their favorite players. As you see cosplay across the arena, beautiful Madison Square Garden. The energy in this building is palpable, and people have been pumped up for the past few hours, ready to see their teams. Among them, those favorite players include Team Impulse, who you're seeing here in their locker room warming up just a short time ago. They'll be facing off against Team Liquid for third place, and there's Squaws dominating the rest of the team, getting in a few reps before they take to the big stage. Now, hello everyone, I'm James Dash Patterson, and the excitement in the air is insane as we take over Manhattan to crown our North American champions. In the analyst lounge with me, I have Aiden Zyrene Moon and Rivington Bislin III. And of course, to give us the pros perspective, we have to include Will Medios Hartman. Gentlemen, we are in Madison Square Garden. How does it feel?
I still can't believe it. This is absolutely incredible. A huge audience. You guys are absolutely insane already, and we haven't even started the game.
We haven't even started. The chance started outside for the teams as well. It's already begun.
Right. If only you people could have seen what was going on in the past hour as things were getting ready. The energy, so much of it. After 12 weeks and 104 games, 4 teams are left standing and will fight for our top 4 spots this weekend. Now let's pull up the bracket to see where things stand. CLG turned in a perfect semifinal performance, sweeping Team Impulse 3-0 to secure the first finals in the organization's history. On the other side of the bracket, 5th seed TSM was able to take down the number 1 seed Team Liquid. That sets up a familiar matchup for third place between Team Liquid and Impulse. Now, beyond battling for glory this weekend, teams are still jockeying for championship points to help them punch their tickets to Worlds. Right now, TSM has earned enough points from the spring and summer split and are locked to represent North America at Worlds. A win tomorrow, rather, would give them the number 1 seed. Team Liquid and CLG are still in contention for a shot at auto-qualification. CLG can get in by winning the title or on points if Liquid loses today. Liquid needs a win today and a CLG loss tomorrow to get in on points. And for Team Impulse, they are fighting for a higher seed in the upcoming regional qualifier. So there's a lot on the line for each of these teams here today. Now, we'll, of course, be diving deeper into today's matchup, but first, let's send it over to our casters to officially kick off our finals weekend.
Thank you very much, Dash. Hey, everyone. I am here, David Freak, truly alongside Joshua Jet Leesman, Sam Kobe Hartman Kenzer. There's audience out here.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible. What are you guys feeling?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty hyped up. I mean, I was walking around earlier, saw all the pictures of all the famous sporting events that have happened here throughout history, and now that we get to do the 2015 North American LCS Finals here, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I've only ever watched this place on TV. Now we're here experiencing the audience firsthand, and the energy is just exhilarating.
I gotta say, it's our buzzword of the day, the energy here. It's without you guys at home, landing energy that you guys here in the audience, it wouldn't be the same. Now, right now, of course, we are here for our third place match. Let's take it over to these guys on stage to introduce our teams.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the contestants for our Summer 2015 North American LCS third place match. On the blue side, Team Liquid.
The final damage Liquid will take down Counter Logic Gaming for top spot in the NALCS Summer Split regular season.
In the top lane, Quas. In the jungle, I will dominate. At mid, Phoenix. At AD carry, Piglet. And at support, X Special. Team Liquid. On the red side, Team Impulse.
They picked off Shifter. They picked off Gansu. 3-0. Team Impulse into the semifinals.
Big win for them as they try and move towards Worlds.
In the top lane, Impact. In the jungle, Rush. In the mid lane, Gate. At AD carry, Apollo. And at support, Adrian. Team Impulse. Once again, let's hear it for our third place contestants.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen, a rematch of our third place match from the spring split. All of these guys a lot on the line, as we've already gone through, but I have to imagine that just walking out there, feeling the energy of the crowd, the rumble in the stands, that only energizes them even more.
You could feel what the players were feeling. Piglet coming out onto stage as well. Quas' smile dominates. The same with Impulses around. These guys are the players right now. The crowd is their instrument. Hopefully they can make it sing for their team, because the rumbles are going to be either for the plays you're failing or the plays you're winning, and these teams are hoping it's for the plays you're winning, because it's going to be huge.
Meteos, you are someone who's played on stages and in front of crowds as large as this. What does that do for you, that moment you take the stage? How does it change the way you approach and think about the game?
It's definitely crazy getting in front of a crowd like that. That was actually one of the coolest intros I've seen. I've experienced some, but I don't think any of them have been that cool. And so it's just a great feeling standing up there, having everyone cheer for you, and just getting introduced like that. So it really pumps you up.
Yeah, I'm ready to play League of Legends.
You gotta sit here and host, Dash, don't leave me.
Unfortunately, I'm tethered to this chair for at least a little bit longer. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the stage is set for one of the most epic conclusions to a North American split that we've ever seen. Since the wee hours of the morning, the NALCS team has been hard at work transforming the Garden into a bona fide League of Legends battle arena. Now, even though they won't be playing until tomorrow, TSM are already in the building and getting in some practice. We'll hear from Dyrus and Wild Turtle a little later in the show. And there is their rival, CLG, talking shop and prepping as they pick up their top-tier strats before going into the big game tomorrow. Now, the energy in the building is palpable, and even our seasoned veterans are feeling the effects of playing in such a storied arena.
So I haven't played in any big stadiums so far. I am pretty new to the scene still, and this is going to be the biggest stadium I'll ever play in. So it'll be pretty exciting for me to play in there and just have a massive audience, and just the feeling that's going to be, I can just imagine, and I'm really excited about it. And I think it will make me play better. So I'm looking forward to it.
And it doesn't seem to even matter if you're a seasoned veteran or not. We saw Piglet come out here. He played at Staples Center in front of a large crowd, but every crowd is different, every arena is different, and you feel the rumble in a different way, and you could see he was pumped up for that himself.
Getting all giddy as he went on stage.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, in addition to the 11,000 people in attendance today, fans are tuning in from all around the world to catch the action. So we want you to head over to Twitter and share with us how you and your friends are enjoying finals week. This is how the caster team is set up, and we've got a bird's eye view of the entire scene. It's a pretty sweet seat, have to say so myself. Send us pictures of your viewing parties or sweet streaming setups by tweeting at LOL Esports and use the hashtag HowILCS so we can feature a few of them throughout the weekend. And if you're looking for a way to see the finals on the big screen, Coca-Cola has got you covered. To find one of the viewing parties near you, just click the viewing link on viewing party link rather on lolesports.com and reserve your spot. But now, let's jump into the reason we're here with today's series between Team Liquid and Team Impulse. After going from cursed to first, Team Liquid are once again in the position of battling for third place, gentlemen.
And exactly, nobody likes losing a semifinal match and having to battle for third place. But when you look at these teams and you look at Liquid, they showed improvement throughout the entire split, and they definitely showed that they can perform well, but they end up exactly where they did last split. That's got to be disheartening, and disappointment is bound to strike, especially with a team as emotional as Liquid is.
And hopefully they can make changes. After their semifinal loss, I was speaking to Dominate on stage in the interview, and he said there were a lot of takeaways from this game, and to have a lot of takeaways from the series can almost be scary. Medios, looking at you, what kind of takeaways do you want to focus on if you do have some? And even in a week, how can you change those?
Well, I would say that after a game like that, you can look at it one of two ways. When you lose, you can either tilt super hard and your team just becomes completely demoralized and you can't play anymore, and that's not really what you want to do. The other way, you can get motivated from the loss. You know, you know what your mistakes are, you want to fix them, and you want to prove you're better than you were last week. So hopefully both these teams are not going to tilt, and it'll be a good game.
Yeah, and looking back at those games, some of them were 50-minute games against TSM. When he says there's a lot of takeaways, there really are a lot of takeaways in a 50-minute game multiple times. So they're focusing on their late game, their shot-calling objectives coming into today. Hopefully they've cleaned it up against TIP, because this is an early game team that can run away with the lead.
And of course, they'll have to dig deep to bounce back because they still have a shot to qualify automatically for Worlds with a win today and a TSM win tomorrow. Otherwise, they'll have to secure a spot through the regional qualifier.
Yeah, and it's a lot to take in, but they really don't have to focus on regional qualifier. Focus on the team in front of you today. Focus on Impulse. Don't get ahead of yourself. But also, you're talking about people who have been digging deep. Look at Piglet. We saw him come on stage, super excited. But he's a guy in their 4 games against TSM, 3 of them being losses. He won lane all 4 games. The former world champion has already been digging deep. Yeah. He has to look for more performances like that against TIP, especially since they've been favoring Apollo AD carry strategies lately.
Well, and one would have to imagine, too, that when you fall into moments like this, Medios, you as a player who's been under immense amounts of pressure before, that those are the players that you really want to fall back onto, people with experience like Piglet. Do you think that Team Liquid, and also on the side of TIP, those teams are going to fall back onto those players to really look for the carries?
Well, I think that to have a really successful team, you don't really want to rely on one person. It really comes down to just, can your team perform? If you're a player who doesn't feel confident that you have to fall back onto your teammates, it's good that they have your back, but you don't really want to be in that position where you can't perform yourself. So I think every player is just going to, try to do their best, and the game goes how it goes. Sometimes you do really well, sometimes not so much.
Dealing with the pressure of the big stage is definitely going to be something both of these teams are going to have to deal with. Of course, there is another former world champion in this matchup that's going to be fighting hard to make it back. We have to look at Impact and the rest of Team Impulse, who can't auto-qualify for the world championship, but could earn the top seed in the upcoming regional qualifier. So still a lot to fight for here, Riv.
Yeah, Medios, we're already talking about high pressure, and you're no stranger to these types of situations. What are the feelings, coming on during and maybe to repair some of those tilt situations as well, just throughout the pressure, throughout a series like this? How do you handle that pressure?
Well, the thing I always did on Cloud9, and I think we were good at as a team, was we just take it one game at a time. You don't really think about what happened last week, what happened even last game, and you just think of, what do you have to do to win this game going forward? If you're up 2-0, you don't think, oh man, we already won. You don't start celebrating early. If you're down 0-2, you don't give up. You just think about the next game and keep playing forward and trying to do your best.
Yeah, and TIP, the entire playoff long, we've been seeing not a whole lot of recovery from tilt for themselves and who they're against, because they went for a clean sweep against Dignitas 3-0, but then when they played CLG, they got swept 3-0, so they haven't even had to have these situations where they bounce back. Right. It's just who wins the first game wins the set so far for playoffs for them. When they did play against CLG, though, they largely ignored Gate in the mid lane, and they focused on winning the side lanes. I don't think that's going to be the case today. I feel like up against Phoenix, the last time they played each other, Phoenix exposed Gate's weaknesses and exploited that, and that ruined Rush's pressure on the game. I think this matchup is going to have a lot of mid pressure.
And Rush not succeeding is a big detriment there for Team Impulse. Medios, looking at you as a jungler, someone who's played up against Rush, how much of a linchpin would you say he is in making Tip work as a well-oiled machine?
I would say Tip revolves around Rush pretty highly, and the way he plays is just extremely aggressive. He's really good at Lee Sin. He likes playing that champ, and when he gets ahead, it's really, really hard to come back from because he's just making plays all over the map. But when he's behind, which can usually happen from losing mid, it's almost impossible as jungler to do much if you lose mid because you're constantly worried about, like, can their mid laner just roam me right now? And so if Liquid can win mid lane, I'd say it'd be really hard for Rush to do much. So I think that's going to be a big point of contention.
And Zyrene, you mentioned the 3-0s, you know, for Impulse either way, but we also have to look across to the other side of the Rift where Team Liquid, they had a hard-fought 3-1, where most of those games, as you mentioned, went very late, could have gone either way. I mean, just as much as getting beaten badly in a 3-0, having so many close games and losing can be just as taxing, if not more so, on the mentality coming into games.
You do get a lot of experience in those games, though. When you take it to a 3-1, and it could have been either way, there were 2 games where it was late game shot calling. You beat yourself up a lot, but if they can refocus, they lost against TSM, 3-time champions, guys who are looking, playoff TSM is always a different TSM too. So Liquid can't let that get to their heads. They sit there, they go, you know what? TIP is not as strong of an opponent as TSM is. We can take them down.
That's the thing that interested me as well once they faced TSM, and I kind of want to ping you on this, Meteos, is what is that mentality? There in the game, it was a 0 to stay in 2 games, and then we heard Liquid in the end say, this is kind of, you know, we noticed late that it was the problem we were having. What kind of takes them, what would take you out of your element so you could see that? Because they're just going into the game saying, this is fine, it wasn't that, we'll make something else happen. How do you get a team to figure that it is that? Do you need an outside source? Does somebody else need to come in? Because they're just going over the same speed bumps at that point.
That can happen a lot in a best-of series where you go in with a plan, and if you lose a game, you don't immediately just think, oh man, our draft was terrible, like this champion's OP, we got all the bad ones. And so a lot of times what you'll see is a team will go into the plan game 1. Even if they lose, they might stick to the same plan, but teams will almost always change up their plan when they're down 0-2. And so that's sort of what we saw with Azir. And this whole playoffs, Azir has just been crazy. He's been just dominating games. And I know both these mid laners are extremely good Azir players. Gate is someone that doesn't have as much experience as Phoenix on the stage. He's just someone right out of Seoul, right out of the challenger scene. And he has a really good Azir, but I think if it's taken away from him, then Phoenix should have a pretty, you know, big gap between him and Gate's skill level.
And Liquid has had a lot of time, or a fair amount of time, to address some of those mistakes, things that they missed in their semifinal.
Just watching the first few pitches.
That's true. Well, we'll have to see. We'll have to see. Guys, though, it is time for the predictions, so I'm going to go right down the line here. Who's winning today's series?
I got to go with Team Liquid. I feel like they played a stronger game. They were able to take TSM to 4, and 2 of those games they could have easily won. I got to go with Team Liquid here, especially with the whole TIP acquisition of Gate late in the season. I do think Phoenix has the edge there.
There you have it. Meteos, on to you.
I think that also Team Liquid, I think it'll be a 3-1. I think that Tip will win the game. I think Rush will go off as Lee San.
Yeah.
But I think Team Liquid will still take it.
All right, and Riv?
I also think it'll be a 3-1, and I also think it will be in favor of Team Liquid.
All right, so a clean sweep across the board here for the
analysts.
analysts.
Said, the late acquisition and everything, and Team Liquid, I feel like they're coming into this ready.
Well, the crowd here already, throughout the day, has been voicing their support, but you at home have been, or should be able to weigh in as well. Right now on LOLesports.com, 69% are calling this series for Team Liquid. So everyone seems to be on the same page to a degree. But with that, gentlemen, we're going to pass it off to our casters to get us onto the Rift.
Thank you very much, Dash. Hello, everyone. We are about ready to get into our first game of this best of 5. Team Liquid, Team Impulse about to hit the Rift here. Now, we do have a brief moment as we get everyone into the lobby. Before the game itself starts, we're, of course, going to be going into Champion Select. And as these guys were talking about the game itself and the players, want to ask you guys a bit about the champions that we might see picked and banned in these games.
They mentioned it, Azir is going to be big for both of these teams. As he said, one of Gate's most comfortable champions, and everybody knows about Phoenix Azir. I don't think that champion will go through to any team when they're on blue side.
Yeah, and specifically from a versatility perspective, it seems like Team Impulse is much more one-dimensional than Team Liquid. The Elise ban is expected. Also, we're thinking that Nidalee would be banned in this series. The Kog'Maw ban is something that maybe is a little bit surprising. A triple ban on Rush could have been advised, but it's something that is different in this setup.
You're clearly seeing the Azir does come through. There is Nidalee ban after all, even though I Will Dominate could have played it himself.
Yeah, Team Liquid doesn't have to look far to see a banning strategy that worked against Team Impulse. In the semifinals, CLG banned Elise and Nidalee in all 3 games against Team Impulse, so it's nice to see Team Liquid replicating it here.
And I do like Team Liquid's adaptation here, where they use a Kog'Maw for a ban instead of the Azir, knowing that Team Impulse do not want that in Phoenix hands, because this is the strategy that Team Impulse have most recently deviated to, is Apollo carrying on one of these late game carry champions. Well, it looks like they're still maybe going for this as they hover over another Lulu for Gate, which has been his sort of second pick after the Azir.
Yeah, something that's really interesting about this ban phase is even though the Alistair was kind of pinched as far as support picks go, with Alistair and Braum being the two that are typically traded, they do not decide to go with that in the first pick, instead going for Gragas, even though that pick is not being denied in any way, shape, or form. So I really feel like Team Liquid is just going to be going for more of a generic strategy. They don't want to give away anything early, because that Gragas pick is incredibly safe and standard.
If Impulse do want to go with a Protect and AD carry composition, then Braum would be great for them.
Yeah.
Surprised though, they've picked the Lee Sin that was not going to be contested at all since Gragas was already picked up. So Impulse hiding the rest of their roles, making sure Gate gets his Lulu the second pick, as you were saying, Kobe. But everything else, Impulse are happy to wait and see what Liquid goes for.
Yeah, it's also important to note that every team chose blue side for the pick and ban phase in this series, so it's clearly what Team Liquid would want to have in the early game. Here, the Gragas first pick, and now it's really their time to respond. This is when we'll start to see their composition.
Yeah, and Impulse also didn't give Team Liquid too much to work off in their first round picks. Lulu is an extremely versatile first pick, since Impact, yes, he's been playing Shen over and over and over, but he has also played the utility camp champions in the top lane as well. Could still be swapped. So the cheers go out for Piglet's Vayne.
Yeah, in the one game that Liquid did win in the semifinals, he was playing Vayne. Also without a tremendous amount of protection. They can still put that with the Braum as well. So it's really them going for comfort there, at least for Piglet's pick.
I also do really like the combination of Vayne with Gragas, because Gragas has the displacement. His ultimate is great for Vayne. If you can create a disbursement within Team Impulse and actually separate Rush from the rest of them, then it's great for Vayne. She can tumble around, take advantage of people who have been separated.
Oh man, the hover on Tomcatch. I don't know how likely he will be, but we've been seeing Ashe raise very rapidly, actually, in priority, especially among Korean teams. Yeah. Been picking her alongside Leona as well.
I love how the Ku Tigers use it for very immediate initiation. They have really long range. Leona herself has long range as well, so she can even follow up on Ashe's initiation very easily. A lot of CC with that bottom lane, but it's also fairly risky. Ashe, as you know, doesn't have her own dash to get away, going to be relying on that Lulu.
Well, when you got big, scary front lanes coming at you, though, maybe Gragas and Orianna could scare them. They still have to pick a top laner for Quas and a support for Xpecial here.
It makes his positioning very important, because if Ashe gets knocked by Gragas Barrel into a bad situation without Flash, she has nothing to reposition herself.
Yeah, if Vayne can close the distance on Ashe, it is just lights out for Apollo. And even though Ashe can put out some good damage in the late game, it's by no means a hyper carry. I mean, Team Impulse is going to have to find damage later on in their team composition. Team Liquid's going with a bunch of tanks, Vayne, and also the Janna, which was banned in every single game they played against TSM in the semifinals. That's the pick Xpecial probably feels most comfortable on.
Yeah, well, there we go. A nice disengaged backline support. Janna typically considered good against Leona as well, if she can disengage the fights. Impulse, a couple of melee champions for themselves. They know it's Maokai up at the top side. Now, Impact has been playing safe tanks recently in the playoffs, in the recent games for Impulse. He won a world championship on Jax, though. This guy is known for his big carry top laners.
It's true, and what is he going to fall back to on this giant stage? Obviously, the Gnar is what people have been picking into the Maokai, because it's a greater split push threat and still creates tank zoning, but it's time for something different.
Impact was relegated to tanks for the entire best of 5 that we previously saw him in. Now, he does get a late game carry champion for the top lane. Yes, Ryze is still vulnerable early, though, and Maokai can set up ganks. So he's going to have to work around that early game.
And Ryze received significant nerfs for the 5.14 patch that we're playing on, yet he is still a very high priority pick for certain Korean and Chinese teams, even if he's almost certainly fell off in North America and Europe. Impact, though, takes a lot of influence from the LCK as well, so right back on that Ryze.
As does their former Gen Air coach Fly, so a lot of ties back to the Korean scene, and it's going to be Team Impulse looking to bring out a lot of new stuff that we have not seen this month in North America. So this is going to be a very interesting matchup to watch for. Impulse certainly digging out a couple of new things, as Team Liquid have gone mostly back to comfort here, things we have seen from them before. And we are just about to get ourselves, as the coaches share a brief hug, to get ourselves into the first game Team Liquid, if they want an auto berth into the World Championship, have to win this series. Yes. If Impulse win, they are a finalist in the North American Regionals in a couple of weeks away. Now you guys at home, go the distance with us today on Twitter. Let us know who's going to win this match. We've got guys in the audience, we've got guys in the desk, but you guys send hashtag TLWin or hashtag TIPWin to @LOL Esports. Let us know who's going to take it home. Let us know who's going to be victorious here today in the third place team in the North American LCS Summer Split for 2015. Here we go, everyone. Game 1 is live.
And already you see Dominate dashing out of his fountain, so skilled up E early. It looks like Team Liquid may be going to try and reach that spot first. As far as the level 1s go, anything can hinge off of something very early in these games.
Yeah, pretty much all Gragas now start with that body slam, take a little bit less damage from the camp. Rush gonna find him early.
He's gonna find him.
First hit.
Laughs it off.
First bit of damage got dealt. However, Dominate and the rest of the team say they aren't actually afraid of Big Bad Rush.
I think that we have a good match versus Tip. We're 6-3 so far. We beat them twice this season, and we also beat them in the third place match last split. So I think that we match up well. Rush is playing really well, but I don't think that he's going to be able to take over the games. He normally is like pretty much even with me in jungle pressure in our games, and that kind of just leads to our team being ahead through just better laning.
So much early pressure that Rush is going to try and exhibit here, but what's interesting about this level 1 is Apollo and Adrian's pathing here. They didn't get deep warded at all because both teams did defensive setups. Then they actually spent a large amount of time in the top lane brush where they placed this ward you're seeing on screen right now. But that is completely undetected by Team Liquid. If both teams do end up having their dual lanes up here, it's a completely blind move. And honestly, it's a little bit of a mind game because Impact was seen in a ward earlier, but it's still pretty much a guess.
Yeah, Press, I would think that lane swaps are good for Team Liquid because they can isolate Phoenix versus Gate that way, get some more time for him to have alone time. Plus, you can inhibit Rush's early game, force him to show for tower pressure or for relieving tower pressure. The other thing that Dominate was talking about as far as him and Rush's early game, he was very correct there. The stats definitely back him up as well. He's the #2 early game jungler in the North American LCS during the regular season, just behind Rush. So he's been one of the North American junglers that could keep up. Let's see if we can do it here as they both start out on the bottom side of the map.
Yeah. So Adrian took a decent chunk of damage. He should be able to heal it up because he has so many health potions. This will be an interesting lane. Ashe does have strong early laning with the poke, and he can outrange Piglet. Additionally, Piglet isn't bringing that strong of an early lane combat summoner in Cleanse, so that's a heal-less lane the Team Liquid is propping up there in the top lane.
Yeah, pre-6, though, it's going to be very hard for Leona to get in against a Janna lane. Usually when I see this matchup, it feels like a 2v1 for the AD carry of Leona.
Yeah, specifically the Vayne Janna combo has been extremely successful, pretty much all across the world. Janna really helps out Vayne with the laning phase, adding that extra range pressure as well as the shield coming in for more harass. Right now, though, keeping the wave in a very safe spot and just CSing very easily.
Yeah, right now, Impulse pushing the lane in early, and they're not afraid of Dominate just yet. This Gragas is on the top side, though, but it's not like Janna's got a great gank assister, so they should be just safe in the matchup. The Rush on a similar side of the map, a bit slower off than Gragas right now as Dominate.
Well, it's because he made an early recall. This is actually fairly uncharacteristic of Rush to go back that early and purchase the health crystal. At least we do know that he is going for Cinderhulk rather than his normal warrior. He has deviated this way before.
Yeah, Rush has deviated this way before, but specifically, even in his 8 Lee Sin games in the regular season, as well as Lee Sin in his playoffs, I can safely say he has never done an early recall to buy a health crystal.
Just a health crystal, yes.
Yeah. So,
usually long swords.
Typical of Rush to not upgrade his jungle item, but instead buy some combat effectiveness from his stats. Still a bit of a strange move. What does he necessarily have planned here?
Is there a chance it's Sightstone? That he's playing like a Nunu style where he's really trying to get vision out? I'm not saying it's like...
There's always a chance.
Yeah.
Although Rush drops fewer wards than any Lee Sin player pretty much in the world.
And wins games that way.
That's true. Wins about half according to the
Dominate,
so
though,
far.
as the one who's actually controlling the early vision because he is on the Gragas permanent sustain there. Easy for him to stay out on the map. He does take the Krug bottom, or the Scuttler bottom side to earn a little bit of vision for his bottom lane there. Quas actually recalling on that same timer.
Right now we have the teams pretty much splitting the difference. Phoenix has more minions available to kill, but is otherwise tied with Gate in this mid lane here. You'll see it jump slightly for Team Liquid as a result here. Bottom lane fairly close, so now slightly edged towards Piglet, and the two top laners on the other side of the map are also pretty matched right now.
Yeah, and we're really going to have to track this mid lane matchup as it progresses, because Gate has actually lost this matchup pretty heavily as recently as last week against Pobelter. He had one game on Lulu where he was getting pushed around by Pobelter's Orianna, down 30 or 40 CS without necessarily the assistance of any jungler. So Gate's ability to stay even in this lane, especially with all the pressure that comes with playing in Madison Square Garden, is going to be really huge, because if he fails, it diminishes Rush's pressure as well.
Rush looking to make a move pretty early here, though. They have communicated that neither Piglet nor Xpecial have been to the Tribush award, but there's a high probability it is in the river.
It is a really hard lane to gank because of the Jana Tornado, just like that, and a Condemn.
Gonna go in anyway. Rush wants to do some damage, has nothing else to do though, and you can see even burning Flash, Adrian got nothing done.
So this lane has two ways of stuffing Leona. The first is the Jana Tornado, which Xpecial timed just right, and then you can also shoot Adrian back like we just saw there from Piglet. So you could tell they are laser focused of knowing how to stop that Leona, and it should allow Piglet and Xpecial to farm pretty freely. It's another reason that Rush may have to play more conservatively in this early game. Ganking that top lane has so many anti-gank tools. Mid lane is Gate's Lulu, which isn't the easiest to gank for, as well as being pressured, and Impact has a long ramp-up time on Rise.
Yeah, it was actually to the detriment of Team Impulse to take that gank. They're down on summoners, plus they weren't even able to deny any CS, and Team Liquid just shoved their lane right back out. It actually is going to make Adrian and Apollo have to be more cautious, because their lane is more vulnerable to ganks.
Yeah, you have a flashless Leona. She has no escape tools left here. Dominate able to stay safe for a while. Looks like he was pinged out as he heads towards this side of the map, but is so far not interested in killing anyone just yet.
Yeah. The thing about Rush is, though, that he goes for his ganks immediately, and then if it fails, he's right back to farming. He hasn't lost a step here. Dominate hasn't gained much ground. Adrian goes in to stop them.
Well, he's going to take a bit of damage,
of
course.
No flash. This is really dangerous for him.
And the chase continues, but not nearly enough. They don't know where Lee Sin is, I believe, so they don't chase much farther, but still plenty damage dealt. Silverbolt's doing plenty of damage through Adrian's Eclipse Shield.
Yeah, both AD carries are at a point where they could back for BF Sword, but because Adrian went to delay that, it's now a little bit of a game of chicken, because both of them kind of do want to back. The fact that Piglet got so much harassment on Adrian may cue them to overstay, but they just shove it in. Piglet does want to shop.
All right, so you get the small chime for Adrian and Apollo to knock that one down. Decent wave through overall, and a Hawkshot will reveal that they're not in danger, so if they push, all is going to be well.
Really smart Hawkshot there by Apollo, honestly. They knew they were playing aggressive. It's a flashless Adrian. They really need to know where I Will Dominate will be, and they've mostly ruled them out.
Plus, he still got information from it. Hawkshot over to the Wolf Camp, saw that the Wolf Camp is up, so that Dominate hasn't even recently been on that quadrant. That's the next one that he will go to, and they can ward accordingly. So many of the wards, though, being placed for brush control in the top lane. Extremely important to have that initiative from the Fog of War.
And this blue buff handoff is actually pretty expensive. That pink ward that Dominate was able to clear without any fear of harassment is pretty valuable to have vision of that brush, especially if Gate was ever hoping to get ganks from Rush. He's going to most likely have to come through that area. So timing the move there for Dominate was proper. A lot of pink ward games going on here. Defensive midline wards for pretty much everyone.
Right, hundreds of gold worth of wards killed away in the recent past. Phoenix now actually getting pushed around a little bit thanks to the blue buff desync between the two mid laners. It's starting now, so Phoenix will be back to being okay, but this will basically reveal where Dominate was most recently, and both teams know where the junglers are.
Really, I'm actually quite surprised that we haven't seen more action with the off solo laners that were in the bottom lane. Rise has had a fairly easy time just going even in CS with Maokai. No pressure applied, and Impact actually is going to go straight back to the bottom lane to hold the 2 versus 1 here.
Yeah.
Adrian's sending back to recall as well.
Well, when Team Liquid recalled, they decided to swap down bottom here pretty quickly. Rise had been getting mostly easy farm, but he's sitting on just the tier and now a health crystal, so he would be a dive target unless Team Impulse comes down. Whereas Quas with the Mercury treads is very hard to lock down under turret on the Maokai.
Impulse have to be very careful here because looking forward, Team Liquid can drop a ward and have Quas teleport down for a dive. That's why we're seeing Team Impulse now send reinforcements for Impact, because it's a very vulnerable situation that they just put themselves in. They're almost daring Team Liquid to go for a tower dive down bottom. A play like that can easily snowball an entire game. You get kills off the bottom lane, it transitions into a first dragon or even a turret after that with a mismatch there. But AD carry going to stay top, and Quas goes the recall at full health. No, I can't see.
It is a dare, but while this is happening, Apollo's going to have a very easy time farming in the top lane. No one's really stopping him with just Quas up there, especially when they're applying pressure onto the bottom side. It's a risk that Team Impulse is taking, but at the time, it is going unpunished.
Good call there to immediately send Adrian to back him up and dissuade any dive.
This just feels like such a tense situation for Team Impulse. I know you were talking about maybe baiting him to be out there, but Ashe could at any time be beset by Gragas Maokai in the bot lane. There's no teleport to help them out there. So either side of the map actually pretty easily assaulted by Team Liquid.
Yeah, with Adrian recalling, all the wards on the top side have expired except for the one pink ward in the river there. So as Apollo pushes up, all he can rely on are his summoners to save him. They do not have eyes on Dominate.
Mid lane is still staying equal though, so as far as that matchup's concerned, it hasn't changed by much.
It's such a hard lane to gank here. Either way, it's fairly difficult, especially since they're both playing fairly safe.
Yeah, the important thing to note though is the fact that Gate is keeping up with Phoenix, which is something that not a lot of people expected him to be able to do. And here would be that bottom lane. Remember, 4 people could approach here if they ward in the turret and then decide to teleport in with it, because they do not have wards behind it for a safer dive. They're kind of hoping that Adrian gets aggressive, which does seem a little bit
Piglet takes damage. The thing is, Orianna just recalled, so Gate can show up first after clearing mid. And he is heading down the river here, actually. He's going to recall, but he would be first otherwise.
Dominate's put a pretty big time investment into this one.
Yeah, it's so hard to bait this as Piglet. Because if Piglet takes a stray Q from Ryze and tries to bait him in, the combo from a Leona is massive, and they have to be very careful.
Well, he took the...
They go for the damage. The stun is not stopped out by X Special, but nothing else really done.
Able to get the ultimate down there from Piglet, looks like.
Yeah, Impact and Piglet traded ultis. Adrian did not go for a solar flare. They were afraid enough of I Will Dominate. And a couple of words back and forth. Back movements away.
The free time that Impact is getting is a little bit troublesome, and also this lane for Apollo, it is to the advantage of Apollo as long as no one else joins this party. He would be theoretically so vulnerable with any type of gank, but that would expose them to giving up a dragon. Or Impact could even teleport up there to support a gank.
Not only did his ward expire, but he just shot a hawk shot down, and it did not see Dominate heading up to the top. This is a free gank for Dominate. This should be a kill. He should easily be able to get...
Apollo has to flash this.
I Will Dominate with the sick flash of the body slam. Here comes Quas as well. Knocks him in. Completely earned first blood for Team Liquid.
And for Dominate, who is a hypey player, that was a hype play right there. Predicting that Apollo would flash his body slam and doing the perfect flash follow to still get the knockup. Brilliant reaction here by Dominate. Flash right on top of his face.
And that's not prediction. That's not reactions. That's straight predictions there.
Then, because he made such a good play, doesn't even need his Q, throws it right into the brush. Just an insult to injury. I don't need my barrel.
The belly was enough. Now there we go. The lane finally pays off. Though that said, Impulse actually still roughly tied in gold, all said and done. There is a lot of money coming in on both the AD carry and top laner, minion-wise.
And that top lane turret's really close to death. So Quas is going to have to be able to shove that out pretty well, otherwise Impact can push it up and go for it. But they've now even swapped again. You cannot leave a summoner spell less Kate AD carry in a solo lane. So this is a required swap back by Team Impulse, and now Piglet X Special are going to be laning 2v2.
Yeah, especially in Ashe, as we just saw. Rush has been able to get the Sightstone there, even before his boots, but the wards are coming out fairly slowly for Impulse, and they're not making their way across the river, so they still have to be very cautious.
All right, well, they try to track I Will Dominate. He's not seen by that hawk shot here. we are in a situation where either team could look to contest Dragon as their setups are appropriate. Top lane is a teleport, AD carries on that side of the map.
I really like also how diligent Xpecial's being with his side brush warding and his side brush de-warding, so that they know there's no teleport that will come in behind them, and they can press up when they need to.
Definitely important against Ash Leona. There's so many plays that could be made by those.
Yeah, it's actually also real important for top laners to do that. They just rarely have the extra income to be able to do it. Wraparound ganks up in the top lane, where you can just walk straight into one of those brush, can be extremely devastating because you expose yourself if you try and gank that far.
Yeah. The farm is in the favor of Team Impulse, as you mentioned, Freak.
Yeah.
So even though the first blood did go the side of Team Liquid into dominate because Impact has been farming well, and honestly because Gate has been keeping up with Phoenix, the gold is still dead even.
Rush as much gold as dominate.
Impact is going to be hitting a power spike pretty shortly. He's going to get his Rod of Ages, and when that starts stacking up, especially when he gets his Archangels, that's really when Rise completely turns on. The fact that Team Liquid really hasn't done much before then, hasn't been forcing the Dragons that quickly, could be a detriment, but they're forcing it now, knowing that Impact is top lane and would have to teleport down. They want to force, if not, just take this Dragon for free.
Yeah, they have spots it out, but
not going to matter.
Nope.
Whoa!
TP comes in a bit late. They've got engage tools. Piglet's isolated. The arrow hits him. Here's the engage. Ignite is on. Flashes out. Solarfly lands the back line, but there's the first kill picked up. A trade of 80 carries. And Impact holding the front line is a big rise. A double kill for Gate and Impulse starting to win this fight. Xpecial's the next one. Here comes kill number 4. They will not trade back on the rush. It's going to be the ace and Team Impulse. Let him take Dragon and pick up 5.
That is the crowd control coming from your bottom lane right there. Such good play from both Apollo and Adrian, even though he ended up going down.
But Kobe, that fight started in such a peculiar way. The Dragon was gone, but instead of following out with the rest of the team, Piglet is trapped and stuck inside the pit. Where did he run here? He sees the teleport.
He's got flash.
He just runs in.
He's got flash. He could have just left.
Yeah, he gets destroyed by the crowd control. Home guard comes in from Quas, but honestly, with no 80 carry on one side and a full Ashe on the other, it was Tip's fight to lose.
It's over right there. And then watch this. Rush and Xpecial. Xpecial has flash too, but he's waiting for the Q to go off so that Rush can't follow him over the wall. Yeah. It takes too long and goes down inside the pit without even using it. And Impulse get a very, very clean ace, only giving up 1 kill for it and a Dragon. That's a huge amount of momentum.
Yeah, it's that split second of hesitation / miscommunication that happened from Team Liquid there that really cost them the start of this fight. Piglet could have just bailed out. He also could have been following his team, but when they got trapped in between the decisions, it's really what cost him. And now it's so similar to how they lose a lot of their games. They have a strong early laning phase. They maybe even get the first blood, but a small bit of miscommunication in the mid game can tilt them.
Definite nerves on the first big play of the entire match here.
From
Piglet. Madison Square Garden. Yeah, from Piglet. Apollo did great. He arrowed an invisible vein. Piglet just tumbled. He saw him tumble forward, so he gets, you know what?
He's
arrow to the face. Arrow to the face, and then they just lock him down.
Beautiful follow-up by the squad then. Team Impulse now feeling pretty good about a 3,000 goal lead. That more than makes up for the stats that Dragon number 1 gives you. Gate still doing just fine. Okay, he's down 12 minions. That's really not bad. We've got what many people consider the best mid lane in North America, barely winning the lane.
Yeah, Impact is going to be going nuclear pretty soon, though. He picked up 5 assists in that fight, as well as having a large CS advantage now, 51 over Quas. So his gold differential at this point is already 1,300, and his mana items will continue to be ticking up. Being able to point-and-click root Piglet when his cleanse is down, obviously, is so important, since really Piglet is the main damage threat coming out the side of TL. That's a lot of crowd control. Like, even with the cleanse, even if they pick up a Mikhail's afterwards, it's going to be hard for him to stay safe.
Adrian stuck behind enemy lines here, and they're prepping for a dive with the deep ward.
Yep.
Oh, they could have gotten really greedy with that.
Rush backs out, though.
It was honestly, would have been a pretty dangerous dive, even though he did get the ward down. They didn't see anyone else on Team Liquid side.
Yeah, I do want to point out that that's something that's important for Team Impulse, is first putting that ward down before. We've seen many times before where they just go for the dive without trying to go back and place that ward before prepping it. and it turned around on them.
And you can see the pressure definitely slowing Impulse a little bit down, which is interesting to see the stakes of this match actually making the play almost a bit unlike themselves, right? There's not a ton of gank assists in some of these lanes, and the Lee Sin stymied for a while. Good of them to pick that fight, but a slower game than we typically see from Impulse here, though it is, of course, going well for them.
Yeah, it's a bit of a push-pull because obviously Team Impulse likes to play very quickly. They had a very risk-heavy game against COG where there were a lot of objective trades back and forth. Whereas Team Liquid had a very conservative game against TSM where Team Liquid were the aggressors but not by much. So what's really happening in this game is Team Liquid is slowly plotting their moves and Team Impulse is obviously willing to make a few more.
I think what's happening is Ryze pick completely changed the way that you play the game. You know he's got to scale up a long way. Impulse also knew that they had two vulnerable side lanes, Ashe and Ryze. Both of those can easily be picked on by jungle pressure, and they chose to send Adrian to Impact, to Ryze, to protect him, and that's what cost Apollo his life early on. They were willing to make that sacrifice to get this Ryze to late game.
And that's what's been so interesting tracking Impulse throughout the tail end of the season is they've been relying more and more exclusively on Apollo, saying you're going to play Kog'Maw and Vayne, and everyone else is a tank. Everyone else is support for you.
That was bringing crowd control.
Impact is finally bringing damage.
Yeah, and in the CLG series, that specifically hurt them so heavily because in games 2 and 3, Team Impulse ran a Maokai top and a Lee Sin jungle, and they would consistently just try and dive the backline. It's like they were zeroed in on a double lift and just tried to kill him in every fight, but they just didn't have the damage to do that. In previous games, when they had Xiao Xiao and a more supportive AD carry, he could help them in. There might be a move in the bottom lane right here. Well, but when they had Apollo on a protective carry, because the front line wasn't playing protection, it all fell apart. Team Impulse team fought atrociously, but when they have Impact on a higher damage team person, if he does want to try and fly into the backline, or if Apollo does want to assist from afar, they can do those things. So this is a more traditional Team Impulse composition because Apollo isn't a hyper carry and Impact is a damage dealer.
The ramifications of that Dragon fight very apparent here. Team Impulse able to close their loop on the entire map, shoving in topside, pressuring where there's no turret, threatening the gank, even without getting that successful gank on topside, forcing 2 recalls. They're able to get the bottom turret here. Impact is able to press up. Ryze already strong and ready to fight.
3 turrets picked up, Seraph's Embrace already converted here, so Impact's not going to die anytime soon. And in that 6-minute span between Dragon number 1 and Dragon number 2, Impulse have made Team Liquid afraid of them entirely. Uncontested Dragon at 22 minutes, Impulse in the driver's seat.
And a lot of that just has to do with how easily Team Impulse can find a fight. They get one person, they will chain the CC. Maybe they get Quas here.
Oh, they're going to try, but he's under the turret. Adrian takes a little bit of damage.
Oh, he missed.
Forces Quas to flash away.
Yeah, Team Impulse had the opportunity to layer their CC for chain stuns right there, but there was a small window in which Quas flashed away right as the Solar Flare was coming down.
I don't think Adrian was accounting for the tenacity in the Merc Treads there.
Yeah.
That would leave the window for Quas to just walk away.
Yeah, it's already a lot of math to do. Ashe stun scales with distance in the first place.
Well, you don't actually do math, Freak, while you're playing.
You just do like the mind, like, I think it's around this long. Yeah. I know. I do math while I'm playing. I'm the only one.
1.4? Okay.
Yeah. Piglet misses a cannon. That's what the groan to the audience was for. And now Vayne up against Ryze. This is, by the way, one of the hardest matchups to ever be in as Vayne. Any point-and-click disable ruins your life. Piglet cannot fight Impact.
Yeah, Team Impulse looking forward. They now really want to be able to utilize this Ryze. Impact is so strong. He only has 4 more minutes to fully stack Rod of Ages as well. So it's time to start playing around him on the map. They've gotten down all of the outer turrets so they can start moving up their ward line. Interesting about Team Impulse, though, as you mentioned, Rush places very few wards, even when on Lee Sin. Apollo is actually the most warding AD carry in the entire league, by almost double the next most warding AD carry.
That's pretty awesome, and now he has Hawkshot too. So,
and now he's also got Hawkshot. That just makes it safer to go place those wards.
Yeah, bot lane Vision Crew. And I actually really do have to give a whole heap of credit to Gate. Even though you could say he's just playing Lulu, the amount of pressure that is under this guy, he had to step in late into the season to replace Xiao Xiao, And now he's playing in front of 11,000 people live in Madison Square Garden for the first time. And no, he's not crushing anybody, but he's staying right even with Phoenix, and he's allowing the rest of his team to carry.
Too slow.
I don't think he would have gotten the kill, but stopping the recall would have been nice to buy some time. So the question is, with Impulse leading the charge, how aggressively do they want to play? The Rise is basically online. Lee Sin is a tank already. Deathcap's done on Luther.
Well, you can see what they've already done. They invaded on the red side jungle of Team Liquid, and they placed the line of wards to apply pressure with impact. They backed him up with vision. Now they may go for a red steal here. He's trying to start off himself, but he's been seen. He's got to leave. He's got no backup.
It's the one dangerous thing about having your teleport guy also split pushing is no one can come down to help him. If he does get jumped on, you can see Team Impulse is trying to bait the Baron. But Team Impulse with those four really couldn't take Baron very quickly. So I actually don't know how much progress Team Impulse can get out of this play.
Well, they are slowly moving in their line of wards, and I like how cautious they are being about it. They're not going all the way for the second tier, trying to get all the way deep into the Wolf Pit. Just one line at a time, and Dominate's doing his best to clear it out. But slowly but surely, Impulse are gaining control.
Wow, nice side benefit of Impact being on this side of the map. He's actually near his own blue buff as well. He gets to walk back, grab that for himself, never miss a beat, go back to full mana, and continue to exert pressure here.
Yeah.
Impulse had swept wards away from Baron, but Special got back in and put them back in here. So Impulse will once again have to sweep these away. And will he have enough time to kill the third one? Yes, he does. 3 wards picked off for a Raptor buff.
The reason I keep highlighting these slowly moving ward lines of Team Liquid is because they have so much pick potential. Ash Arrow and Leona can combine to pick somebody off. If you see them coming through their own jungle, makes it very easy to hit that arrow and the subsequent follow-up CC. So Team Liquid have to be very careful when the next dragon does spawn, even in approaching the area that Team Liquid are waiting in.
Yeah, why do you think the 2 carries both ran cleanse in this game? They're so afraid of those pickoffs. They cannot be the one that gets tagged by the sometimes 3.5 second long stun here. We've seen supports go Mikhail's QSS, so if they get stunned, they can still cleanse their teammate. I've seen it made fun of, but I actually understand the reason behind buying that item on a support sometimes.
Yeah, and one thing we have to mention that's going to be really important if we do end up getting team fights is how far behind Quas actually is. He just now is going back to shop with about 1,000 gold, trying to decide between a Warden's Mail or something else. Ends up fully stacking MR and leaves base with an extra Spectre's Cowl. So if he tries to dive on the backline, Apollo can actually shred through Quas quite quickly here with his Infinity Edge Phantom Dancer combo. So all the farm that he has been basically conceding to Impact because of the power differential is mounting, and it makes it even less likely that Team Liquid can take a 5v5 fight. And they can't even look at them because of all the catch that Tip do have. Yeah, Phoenix and Pickett have cleanse, but even if they lock down Quas, they're going to be able to kill that guy.
They absolutely will. And you can see the gold lead actually growing over time as well. No kills have gone in since that earlier Dragon fight, but the gold lead itself, now 6,000. A really, really sizable lead right now for Impulse. And as they keep trying to choke out this top side of the map, eventually I feel like Baron will fall if they choose to do that.
Yeah, I was really thinking they'd just go for the next dragon that spawns. It's much easier to try and bait that because you take so much less damage while you're on it. And then they could move their way up towards the top side by Baron, but they're actually splitting their wards between both objectives. They feel confident enough that they'll just freely be able to pick up Dragon. Team Liquid won't even try and contest. So the real pick opportunities do come when after they've taken the Dragon and they shift upwards.
I think that's the play here. Team Liquid should do everything they can now while Dragon is going down to clear out the Baron wards as much as possible. It's a lull in pressure here for Team Impulse.
Scuttle too.
And I think it's a really valuable lull in pressure for Team Liquid. Dragon 2 actually doesn't need that much. This kind of signals that Team Impulse is thinking they won't be able to close the game for long and want to start stacking up Dragons, because honestly, 28 minutes in, they were in position to starve the Baron area, but now that they've given Team Liquid that window, they just covered the Baron area with wards, and it's going to be a whole nother quest for Team Impulse to get control again.
Yeah, and beyond that, grabbing that Scuttle Crab when you're this far behind feels so good as Team Liquid. Dominate jumped on it as soon as it spawned, being able to get that guarantees you that minute.
Yeah, 75 seconds of you cannot see the vision out. We will know what you're going for here. What's interesting is Impulse, it's not like the wave clear is that amazing from Liquid. Yes, Orianna's scary, but other than that, the wave clear is a bit mediocre. Sieging, I feel like, is an option for Impulse if they wanted to go for it. They get pressure from tier 2s.
Yeah, I think they have a lot of options right now, and they're actually having trouble choosing one and going completely for it. That's why they split wards between the two areas, and that's why they're just kind of farming and trying to expand their lead here.
Yeah, the safest for Team Impulse is just to wait for Liquid to extend and try and get a pick in the open, because if they do siege up, then there is the chance of an amazing Gragas ultimate knocking someone into the turret and turning it around.
Definitely scary. So, Impulse is giving a lot of respect here. Rise is still scaling up, and if they feel like their late game is just significantly better, I guess there is no rush.
Gate is getting super aggressive.
I see you, freak.
Well, yeah, you're right next to me.
Yeah, this is control again being gained by Team Impulse. A couple really important item power spikes were just hit by tips, so they should really be playing around Baron now, forcing Team Liquid to come in.
Team Liquid trying to defend these pink wards with their lives right now so they can keep their jungle clear. They are putting everything they have into this war over the vision in their own jungle, and they are barely holding on here. Now they're trying to hold their own blue buff. Rush threatening to go for the steal, though.
Up rush, and now Dominic has to smite over the wall, but smite is down, so there's really no likely chance of claiming this for Team Liquid.
Yeah, the pink ward finally goes down, too. That's a pretty big loss.
What's a gate?
Yeah, beautifully done by Team Impulse. They not only steal it, they get it on exactly who they wanted to. So now they can give their own blue buff to Impact and get double mages with blue buff.
Yeah, that buff's up right now, too.
If they can force in this Baron fight, which they honestly should be pushing very hard for.
Yeah, Impact is just a monster right now. Even though he didn't get any of the last hits from the Dragon Massacre that went on, it gave him enough power to increase the CS lead. He's gotten Abyssal Scepter on top of both scaling items already. Abyssal Scepter is one of the most gold efficient.
Yeah, so Scrying Orb went down to stop Team Impulse at the Baron Pit. They should be cycling back for that before Scrying Orb comes up again, but first they need to control this wave in the middle since their mid lane turret is still standing.
This is the opportunity that Impulse are looking for, though. They're extended up into open territory. They were busy handing off the red buff, though, so Impulse not able to jump on this opportunity to try and land an arrow and force the fight away from the turret. Team Liquid still staying grouped up.
It's pretty impressive how slow Impulse are playing when they have so many hard engage tools.
Apollo still 2 screens away here, trying to work his way down through the jungle. He's looking for a good angle, it looks like, and they send him back just to hold the wave.
The thing is, when you play Ashe in high-level competitive play, you're not looking for the cross-map arrows in the first place. You're not doing like the Jinx cleanup thing. You're doing roughly 1 screen-length arrows, where you're actually usually envisioned in the first place because you just don't miss, and the AoE slow is enough of an engage tool that the 3.5-second stun isn't required. Him splitting actually gives a big sigh of relief for the rest of Team Liquid.
They're still just kind of content to continue to outscale here. Apollo is sitting on pretty much a pile of gold right now, 2,140. He could continue farming a bit and pick up a Last Whisper, or he could just start building towards a Bloodthirster, depending if he wants to go with a more offensive or defensive build here on Ashe. But with him staying out this long, I almost feel like he's going Last Whisper. I don't think he needs it because there's almost...
Yeah, you definitely don't need a Bloodthirster with a Lulu on your team, I don't think. Especially since they're going to be trying to look for the picks. They definitely want to burn through whoever they catch first. Yeah. He's going to be hitting frontline here, Apollo.
Yeah, Last Whisper.
And the armor is coming in.
He does not want to have to dive through.
That's a big power spike. Now Dragon 3 spawns in a minute 20. As Impulse have showed us for the last 11 minutes straight, they're happy to just wait for Dragons to spawn over and over again and play a really slow one. Ironically, Gate playing the wrong skin for a Dragon Tamer style, but that's okay. Thanks.
I think he's all right with it. What's interesting as well is the gold lead has actually stayed pretty standard. I do have to credit Team Liquid a lot here. A little bit Team Impulse not focusing on exactly what they want to shut down. But honestly, with all the initiation that Team Impulse has had and their ability to control vision, the fact that Team Liquid hasn't been engaged on and also hasn't fallen incredibly far behind is a testament to how well they're stalling. And now, Phoenix, pretty big items. Piglet, very close to a QSS to go on top of his cleanse. There's a chance that Team Liquid still turns this one around because it's been such a long stall.
And Special has Zeke's Harbinger, which means you cannot ignore Piglet, but this team has to ignore Piglet. That's how their team comp works. So the Vayne will get to hit with a lot of damage for quite some time. You can see the amount of damage that Phoenix is able to deal, even though it's full tank Lee Sin. Deathcap Void Staff, very scary. Quas gets caught up a bit here. You can see the damage he's able to take in.
Decent harass, and Team Impulse have control of the mid lane here. They have positioning.
Yeah, this is the point that it's the point of the game that Team Impulse has been waiting for, honestly, because Team Liquid is finally feeling strong enough to at least look at them. It's all about whether or not Team Impulse can get the clean initiation. And again, they're kind of spreading themselves out between the Baron, the Turret, and the Dragon, not really fully committing on one specific thing.
Well, here's the attempt for Dragon. Mid lane got cleared. There's no wave yet to push in for Team Liquid. So they've got a small respite here. Easy pickup for Lee Sin plus Ashe. As long as their trip back to mid is safe, then all is well. Looks like Impulse will get their third straight uncontested Dragon, and there's the stun on Aquas, full duration. Merktreads cuts that short, out he goes.
Yep, I like that they do not fully commit there. You can see the moment of hesitation to go in on that Ashe arrow, since it was just the front line Maokai that was picked off. Yeah, they do not commit to lose anything.
On a Maokai with his ultimate on, and an Orianna ball, and a Janna shield. Very smart not to go in. But now Ashe arrow is down, and it's getting a little testy here for Team Impulse. Again, one person backs to base and Impact, so they're holding the turret with 4 people. Because they took the Dragon, they've lost the pressure around the Baron pit. Team Impulse really not pressing this advantage much at all, and Team Liquid continuing to scale up in parallel to Impulse.
Yeah, the thing is, there is a power spike coming up for Impulse. They want to get Rush and Apollo and Adrian to that level 16 first. They will get it first because they have the experience lead, so they could even get that mid-game experience spike and then go for the all-in a WoW. They leave Team Liquid without that extra level in their ultimate abilities.
Yeah. And honestly, Impact is pretty crazy strong right now. Highest CS in the game.
We've been saying that, yeah, for a while.
Highest CS for his team, not the game. Obviously, Phoenix has 396, but he just finished Void Staff as well.
He's the richest man.
Yeah.
To your credit, Jat.
He's going to have to get pretty much instantly focused, I feel like. Otherwise, he's going to just destroy Team Liquid in these fights.
Unfortunately, this is a team with a Face of the Mountain, with a Lulu, and a Lee Sin. Like, good luck getting through the Rise anyway. He's also got a bunch of health and some magic resist, so it's a catch-22 dealing with Impact. Unfortunately for Team Liquid, Impulse did a great job of setting him up, and Impact is going to be incredibly, incredibly difficult to deal with. Much to the blue team's chagrin. 7,000 gold lead right now. Impulse have played for 3 Dragons in a row. They have done a good job controlling vision, but haven't gotten much else with it. They took the outer turrets in the first 4 minutes of their team fight victory and stopped from there, looking for an attempt. Swimsy comes off onto the Leona.
It's interesting that Piglet went Spectre's Cowl instead of QSS. He's relying on his cleanse and instead just wants more effective health for the point-and-click damage Impact is going to be doing to him. We'll have to track if he gets really low in one of these fights and ends up clutching it out because of that health. We're getting closer and closer to the fight. Team Liquid, there's Dominate.
Ooh, wow, Rush playing a bit safely, jumped back to his teammate, did not want to get hit there. Oh! Arrow crucially close to finding a stun. Piglet gets the Zeke's buff, gets jumped on over the wall, has to cleanse away, jumps around. He's running into the Shockwave! Shockwave! In comes the engage, the kickback, Dominate, the fight continues. Apollo goes down to Piglet, and now Impulse forced to run away. Team Liquid have control, they're looking at Baron.
Piglet played great on the outskirts. Mainly, they were successfully able to burst out Impact. He could not get his DPS out, and all this stalling, the 20 minutes plus for Team Liquid, is finally paying off. This Baron, though, is not secure.
It's not going to be easy. Rush does have no smite right now, but he's also low on health. Special on the wings has the ult. He can knock back Impulse. This should not be available for TIP, and it will not be, and Team Liquid get Baron. They bring the game back within 4,000.
Impulse wait around and fumble the engage there. After the Ashe arrow missed, Gate moved up and got chunked out by Piglet before the fight even began, and a great shockwave there from Phoenix turns it all around. Dominate easily able to follow back up on it. Look at this huge swing. They've taken back everything off of that one play.
Steal the blue away, mid lane outer finally goes down. Liquid tie up the turret score, and the gold now within 3,000. That is definitely a workable deficit.
Yeah, just watching this fight go again. Piglet is very far up, and honestly, Team Impulse wants to go in. Gate is just way too far down. He gets chunked, but Impact right here. Harbinger, I think, procced open. Yeah. 2 crits in a row into the shockwave.
Even a channel tornado.
Oh my goodness, just a beautiful wombo. Yeah, that is exactly the fight Team Liquid would be waiting for. They push out the Lulu right at the start. They also chunk down Impact at just the right time.
Piglet 1v2'd the solo laners of Team Impulse right there, and he came out ahead. He chunked out Gate, and then he chunked out Impact as well. And then huge follow-up from the rest of Team Liquid on that 3-man combination
I mean, it's such a strange time for Impulse to go aggressive for 18 minutes straight. They just said Dragon, Dragon, Dragon. The first time they use Astral Ultimate, it misses and they still go forward and try to deal damage to Piglet.
Yeah, it was more like that they got caught out. Gate has had a few instances in this game where he's trying to get a little bit cheeky and aggressive. He chunked out Xpecial up top in the Baron pit about 10 minutes ago, and in that fight right there, I think he was just trying to get some free harass onto Piglet, but he just pushed too far, and it's another one of those things of the team not being on perfect sync with each other. It was in no way a full-fledged engage.
3 guys walked into a shockwave, sadly for them, and well, the full-fledged engage not happening, but Team Liquid still finding an arm to take away, and they took a leg with it as Baron goes down.
Yeah.
Bot lane 2-2 under fire.
Baron buff up, but a Vayne is not the greatest seizure.
Forced him away, the pushback impact's gonna go down. That's a Piglet kill again for Liquid. The shockwave claims a second. Impulse have nothing to do but run away from this one. Piglet says thank you for the gold. Turret number 5 for Team Liquid.
Impact continues to not be strong enough to be a sole frontliner right there. Piglet has reached that critical mass point where he is shredding through people.
There's a reason Piglet's got a Vayne skin and Impact does not have a Rise one.
Legacy of his former team here. Piglet gonna be okay despite the whimsy. They're gonna go for the game-winning push. Gate goes down. Now they want Rush. Could Liquid do it already? 40 minutes in off a single team fight. They're onto the Nexus turrets. Apollo flashing away, trying to keep his base alive, but already one of the Nexus turrets is down, and they're now onto the second. Team Liquid looking to take game 1. Apollo will not be enough to stop them, and they're gonna do it off of 2 minutes off of one fight. Team Liquid take game 1.
The poise from Team Liquid, lasting so long against the long-range engage advantage of Team Impulse.
And that's exactly what it is, Kobe. It's poise right here because Team Liquid is a team that has tilted in the past. They're a very emotional club. And after getting 5 deaths at the Dragon Pit early on in the game, it's easy to just give up. But they stalled that game so successfully for the next 15 to 20 minutes, and then were able to find their windows. It's more about how you react than it is the first mistake.
It's all about punishing that mistake. The analyst desk talks so much about tilting, and Team Liquid kept cool. They kept even, and the punishment there for that one mistake was to take the entire game off of a single Baron.
And I mean, really awesome to see from them as well. Of course, yes, they had Baron. Baron makes it much easier to push. But the fact that Team Impulse aced them, got the other turrets down, had complete map control, had blackened out Baron probably 7 different times that game, and never once even attacked it.
Yeah, we kept talking about it, Freak. Team Impulse was never fully committing to the play, and the 5,000 gold lead they had at 20 minutes was the same 5,000 gold lead they had at 40 minutes, but it's no longer as important because everyone has more gold. Team Impulse didn't capitalize, and Team Liquid did.
Well, Team Liquid, great job capitalizing that one, and now for more on the game, I'm going to send it down to our analyst desk.
Thank you, Freak. Gentlemen, what a crazy finish. I mean, that was just a split-second finish there to a game that really seemed to drag in the middle. But I do want to start at the beginning. We had some interesting picks come out. We saw Team Impulse move slightly away from this Apollo-heavy carry team comp and putting Impact on that Rise in the top lane.
Well, I think the ban of Kog'Maw was very smart, taking that away from Apollo, but we have seen Rise been pretty dominant in some Asian countries that I think it's actually still a very good champion to gravitate towards. It has that carry potential, and if it gets ahead, it gets the Seraphs and Rod of Ages, it pretty much wins all 1v1s in the top lane.
And then, of course, we saw in the jungle matchup the Gragas, comfortable Gragas for Dominate, and the comfortable Lee Sin for Rush. Now,
I think everybody was a little too comfortable in this game. Because as you're saying, waiting for the Rise, everybody was waiting for a little too much.
Yeah, there's a definite element of that. But Meteors, we did notice something a little bit unusual, and it's a little bit nitpicky, but we saw the Cinder Hulk on the Lee Sin come out, and you had some insight as to the fact that Rush has been doing this lately.
Yeah, I think it's pretty interesting because Rush has basically got himself known for this super aggressive all-or-nothing playstyle, and so switching to Cinder Hulk seems to go against that a lot because Cinder Hulk's just a really safe build on Lee Sin. You're never really going to take off, but you're also never really going to be useless. But, I mean, he did fine during the mid-game, but it just wasn't really like the Rush everyone knows. You know, it seemed like he sort of has become a lot more reserved, at least in this game. Maybe he'll go back to his aggressive style, but I don't know, it's really interesting to see.
Yeah, was he? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, but when I see that, though, the difference between the Warrior and the Cinderhulk in that game was pretty much a non-factor. It's just what they did in the mid-game that was the big problem, because they did nothing with their advantage. They sat there waiting for Dragons, waiting for Rise to get more of an advantage over Maokai, and then press it. But they had all the engage tools, save for the Maokai engage. That's it. And they did nothing with it. So TIP, you can see them there on your screen, they have a lot of thinking about to do here coming into this next game, because right now they had all the cards. They had the advantage. They had the engage tools. They had split push pressure, and they didn't use any of it. They waited for an engage that came to them. They didn't choose it.
I do think that the Ashe pick seemed a little off this game, because when you first pick Lisa and Lulu, it's just, you know, telling the other team you're going to run a protect the carry comp. And they sort of, I guess, tried to switch it up by going with a Rise comp instead of, you know, the traditional AD carry comp. But I really think something like a Jinx would have been better there. If you get a Jinx, you rush Zeke's on your support. It's just insanely strong, especially on this patch. So I think that's something that may have gone a little better for them. Maybe Ashe is something they've been practicing a lot and they feel comfortable with, but I'm not really sure. Maybe they have something planned for next game.
They already are putting Apollo on more carry-type style champions, and Gate, he was the kind of kink in the armor that I was looking at that was going to fall behind for Impulse, and he kind of went pretty even in the mid lane. So like you're saying, if they can get Apollo on something more that can be more damage, more carry, I think Tip's really going to put themselves back in this one.
Actually, I guess they also could have gone for Sivir that game. Like basically what Tip is known
they
for.
Always have.
They are the Sivir players. Apollo is the Sivir only main.
The number
and
of
it
Sivir
was
games.
open, so I think it would have been really good against their comp. Team Liquid first pick Gragas. You don't really want to take in a mobile carry. Sivir's very good against him, so maybe they'll change it up next time.
I do want to jump into a couple of replays real quick. The first one, we talked so much today at the beginning of the show how energy, how hype, how emotion is going to come into play. First replay out the gate, Dominate making an incredible play in the top lane. Some pressure coming from the jungle. We're going to get that up on your screens and we're going to roll it out right away.
I love the way he plays this, because his hitbox would have collided with Ashe, but if he's prepped himself. If I see anything that looks like a flash, I'm going to flash into this spot and immediately gets the knockback afterwards. That was so awesome. Apollo, though, when you look at that play over again, if he had arrowed the Maokai immediately, he could have stopped that from happening. But still, the fact that he was able to do that, the reaction, because that was a pure reaction, but he had prepped himself for the possibility that it was coming.
It feels good, but then you see that. It's almost like they slowed down, and then Impulse was able to get their lead, and then an ace, and then wait 16 minutes to get almost aced.
Yeah, we're not going to look at that replay, but I do want to talk about that fight where Impulse did pick up their lead, because there seemed to be a little bit of miscommunication. Piglet almost making the call that we can fight this with the ult and tumble in while the rest of the team was on the retreat.
Yeah, he made some kind of feints towards he's going to go up, then he went back into the pit, and then it looked like he was going to go up again, and then he's like, okay, I'm in the pit, but now I have to go forward because I had made these stutter steps. And I feel like he was just trying to buy time and make himself look juicy as the TP from Quas was coming in. But it was a little too late. Phoenix mispositioned in that fight, and it really gave up that large advantage. But TIP, once again, did not press that advantage, and that was the big part of this game for them, is that they didn't do anything with it.
Medios, let's talk about the events or lack of events that unfolded after that. You know, you said yourself how many times you have been in this same position in a game where your team had the lead and you guys didn't quite know what to do. You know, with the tools that Tip had at their fingertips, what could they have done to press their advantages a little bit more?
Well, it's actually an interesting situation where, like you said, I have been in this situation. And to viewers, you might be sitting there being like, why aren't they doing anything? They're 5K up, you know, like, just go fight them. And obviously what Tip was thinking was they were just seeing the CS advantage with Rise over Maokai. And it was just growing and growing and growing. He's probably 150 CS up. So they're probably just thinking, okay, guys, like, we're going to win this game. We have our, like, double carries. We've got Lulu. Maokai is going to be super useless. But they never really, you know, like, pulled the trigger and went for something with the lead that they kept getting. They maybe could have done more Baron baiting. They could have went for more deep vision, tried to make plays. But they were just content sitting back scaling. But
well, then, Zyrene, we saw them pull the trigger eventually, right? And this is our second replay. We're going to pull this one up where Team Liquid ends up winning the fight. But this is off of an Impulse engage.
Yeah, you see Dominate got chunked out before this fight. But what's going to happen is the arrow is going to go past. They still want this engage, though. And Piglet chunks out Gate, and everybody clumps up because as the Leona ultimate comes down, they were anticipating to be able to capitalize on it. And that's just a beautiful follow-up there from Team Liquid. That was what they were looking for. Both sides were anticipating the position of the other. It's just Team Liquid had the one that came afterwards, after the Leona ultimate. Even if that Leona ultimate had landed, Piglet would have been stunned. Great. Ori ultimate still would have came through, and Phoenix really had the upper hand there in that. Especially, I like the condemn backwards that pushed Gate out, because he couldn't really help his team at that point. He wasn't going to add any more damage. So I really felt that the way that Team Liquid played that fight was pretty much key.
The summoners as well, keeping him on the up and up. Because of that, it gave Impulse so many more things to think about, whether they went on Gate, or I'm sorry, on Phoenix or onto Piglet. Both of them just cleanse out, and you saw the priority they were trying to put on those targets. That causes you to lose the fight.
Yeah, well, that game was quite back and forth, you know, in hindsight, although it did stall out quite a bit. Yeah, exactly. That's a good way to put it. Well, we are going to step away while Team Impulse and Team Liquid reset for Game 2 of our third place match. Also, TSM's Diaries and Wild Turtle are in the house and will be joining us in just a little bit to share their thoughts on the action and their looming showdown in the finals. Now, keep it tuned right here. Our playoff coverage continues after this.
Here we go, everyone. Game 1 is live.
Apollo has to flash this.
Oh, I will dominate with the sick flash of the body slam. Here comes Quas as well.
Here's the heel. Good shit. Okay, 장난. Jenna. Nice.
Oh, Shockwave! In comes the engage, the kickback dominate, the fight continues. Apollo goes down to Piglet. Despite the whimsy, they're gonna go for the game-winning push. Gate goes down. Now they want Rush. Could Liquid do it already? Team Liquid take Game 1.